taken over the campus and turned students into consumers.
Well, I'm very depressed when I think back over the last 30 years or so I've been in the university system, and it has got worse and worse. Students are much more cold, calculating and cynical. They want to be fast-tracked through an easy course to a lucrative profession.
Money is time, and thus education, more than ever, is about the finite and the measurable, about bottom-line accountability and ripping off public thinking for private profit.
You actually don't want knowledge in control of large corporations. You have to recognise that there's a difference between private interest and public interest. You wouldn't want all the knowledge we have about tobacco, for instance, being generated and owned by the cigarette companies. There are lots of points where market forces protect themselves rather than protect the public, and specifically rather than protect the public.
Amongst other things, unassuming microbiologist Professor Graham Laver changed the way the world looked at influenza. His research has helped save millions of lives. In 2001, he gave evidence at a Senate inquiry regarding his submission on public universities and our higher education needs, in which he essentially bagged commercially driven research funding for unis. Incidentally, after saying so, the university expelled him.
Ever since I started work at the university, nobody ever told me what to do. When I first arrived at the John Curtin School of Medical Research, I was given a lab. I was told by the director, stock up the lab with equipment and get on with the work. And that was it. Never any suggestion that I should do anything like that. And that's, I think, how it should be.
So what's changed?
What's changed? I think now, if you come to the institute of I was working, you're put into a big team. You're told what to work on, and a lot of the work you do is thought to have commercial application, and commercial rules apply. In other words, you can't talk to people freely about the work, you can't discuss it, and I think it's a disaster. I don't know the exact figure, but there's probably about 60 or 70 small biotech companies in Australia, all trying to produce marketable products. I don't think any of them have had any success.
Great leaps of imagination are required for breakthrough research. The freedom to ponder why and what if. Simple questions that aren't possible if you have big business trying to limit and contain the pursuit of ideas to the merely profitable. And companies that profess to search the moral high ground for cures for AIDS, heart disease or cancer will only do so if there's a buck in it. Be it science or arts, schools and universities have been the intellectual guardians and warriors of Western culture. What we are giving up on are intellectual adventures, most of which will end in making this world a better place to live. We must continue to fund and receive from these hallowed halls some meaning to many a modern life without any. But how classic are the classics? Literature, Latin, languages? What about geography? Or even anthropology, a very Western university subject about cultural adventures?
Anthropology is all about people. It's about cultural diversity across the world and within a society like Australia. It's teaching our students about how the world makes sense, makes meaning for people, whether they're rich or poor, of particular ethnic or religious backgrounds and so on. So anthropology these days is quite a diverse area of research and teaching.
So it's about meaning of life?
Yes. I think one of the things we first teach our students in first year is that the object of the exercise is to understand what the world, what life means to people. Not an easy thing to do, to get inside another person's mind and experience the world as they do. But that's the great challenge, the great tradition, the great signature method of anthropology, to find what the world means to people. The big challenge in a country like Australia, I think, anthropologically speaking, is how do people connect with the nature of the continent and with its species of plants and animals and its environments. And in that, Australian Aboriginal cultures, from the point of anthropology, have always been incredibly important. You can't work for many years with the detailed bodies of Aboriginal knowledge just about plants and animals and topography and landscapes without realising that that culture has a huge amount to offer the rest of the society in its future development and negotiation of an identity in the land.
But the rest of society's not interested anymore. Learning from the past is redundant in big city life. The only education required to get ahead today is one that'll earn enough to get a mortgage, a new car, and an annual holiday. Bottom line is that there is a bottom line. The West's greatest achievement is being priced to sell, like factory trinkets to straight-A students with a loan and Johnny Foreigner with a fistful of cash. It's unseemly and unfortunate that after 2,000 years of civilization built upon intellectual reason and scientific rigor, Western education is being reduced to survival of the richest, offering a lolly bag of lucrative, market-friendly, dumbed-down degrees. So long, Socrates. We should be thinking about who we are, how we are, and why shit happens infinitely, in the quest to make us better people, and not creating a country of intelligent fools who can count but can't think.
Now, knowledge is easy to access, but it's very difficult to discriminate knowledge. Overwhelmingly what we must be about is knowledge discrimination. You can go to the internet, you can put in search, you can get every topic that you possibly want. You can access the information, that's not a problem. What is a problem is to know what is sensible, what is relevant, and that's this deeper understanding which takes you through to wisdom.
But can wisdom get you a job today?
A lot of parents would say, well, arts and humanities won't get you a job.
Yeah, I've done okay out of the arts and humanities, and so do lots of people. That's a really... I come across that line of argument all the time with young people who want to be authors, and their parents inevitably say to them, get something behind you first, as though it's some kind of sequential progress in your life, that first you become a dentist and then you become an author, when of course it doesn't work like that at all. If you want to write, you'll find a way to write no matter what you're doing anyway, but to foster that instead of to prioritise it at such a low position is to deny the drive of the person who has that as their passion.
What happens is that interest in the humanities waxes and wanes in response to quite short-term shifts in public opinion. But specialised knowledges are important to maintain, and you have to maintain them even if sometimes they're unpopular. Now, in our case, in Australia, our expertise in Asian studies generally has run down dramatically. It is the case that when relief teams went into parts of Indonesia after the tsunami and the earthquake, they did not have a single person with them who could say in the local language, where does it hurt? At that very basic capacity of having the languages, let alone knowing what are the kind of kinship structures there, how does the society work, what's the best way to inject help so it actually has diffusion and repercussions throughout the society. All of those things need to be known. You don't know what kind of knowledge you're going to need in the future. If you're going to have commercialised knowledge, it's got to be balanced by at least as much investment in knowledge for its own sake, simply because commercial knowledge will only support its own short-term objectives. We want this nation to have long-term objectives, and to do that you've got to provide a knowledge base that is wide as it possibly can be.
The search for meaning doesn't have to be via a maze of humanities or Neil's pure maths, but it has to be about truth, wisdom, even the divine.